I never thought I'd be the guy typing out some long, angry story about how my wife cheated on me, but here we are. Her name was Lisa, and I honestly thought we had a decent marriage. Not perfect, but good enough. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 5. I'd always believed that if you're honest and committed, you can get through anything. Turns out I was wrong about a lot. The first signs that something was off didn't come all at once. It was subtle at first. Lisa started being more irritable, snapping at me over small things like I'd somehow personally wronged her. She'd cancel plans last minute or leave her phone face down on the counter all the time. I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was stressed at work or just tired. I wasn't the jealous type, so I didn't press her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. Then came the late nights. She'd claim she was working late, but I'd catch her sneaking out of bed around 11 or 12, tiptoeing into the bathroom or the guest room. I'd ask, and she'd give me some bullshit excuse about insomnia or needing to clear her head. But I knew better. Women don't tiptoe around the house when they're just trying to get some peace. Something was definitely up. It was around then that I noticed she was more distant during sex. She'd be in bed, half responding, checking her phone or scrolling through social media while I was trying to connect. I thought maybe I was just imagining it, or that she was stressed about her job or some other stupid excuse. But the truth was, I started feeling like I was losing her, like she was somewhere else emotionally, even physically. Then came the worst part. I found something that made my stomach drop and my fists clench. It was a receipt crumpled in the back of her dresser drawer. I was organizing our taxes, trying to get everything in order, and I saw it tucked away behind some old socks. It was for a hotel. The date was recent, and the name of the hotel wasn't far from our city. My heart started pounding. I looked closer. The receipt showed a reservation made in her name with a man's name, Bill, I think, and it was for 2 nights. I didn't say anything right away. I needed to think to process what I'd just seen, but I knew. I knew she was cheating on me. The pieces fit. Her secret nights, her distant attitude, her constant lying about where she was. It all pointed to one thing. And as much as I wanted to believe she was innocent, deep down I knew she was lying all along. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling betrayed in a way I'd never experienced before. The woman I loved was sneaking around, lying to my face, probably having sex with another guy while I was home, clueless. It was the kind of gut punch that leaves you feeling hollow. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was staring at me. And from that moment, everything changed. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding, and my stomach was tight with a mix of anger and disbelief. I kept turning the situation over in my mind, trying to find some explanation that didn't make me want to scream. But deep down, I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know, not anymore. When Lisa woke up, I could see the typical annoyance flicker across her face when she realized I was already awake. She was the kind of woman who always had a snarky comment ready, especially when she was trying to brush things off. I decided to cut right to the chase. I pulled the receipt out of my pocket and held it up. "Care to explain this, Lisa?" I asked, my voice tighter than I wanted it to be. She froze for a second, her eyes flickering with surprise and something else, guilt. Or maybe just her usual bitchy attitude trying to mask it. "Oh, it's nothing," she said, shrugging dismissively. "Just some hotel I stayed at with a friend. Honestly, I don't see what the big deal is." I stared at her, my jaw clenched. "A friend, a guy friend maybe. Because that's not what the receipt says, Lisa. It says Bill, and the dates match up with nights you've been acting weird. How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes and sat up, crossing her arms. "Look, I do owe you an explanation about every single thing I do. It's none of your business who I spend my time with. Maybe if you weren't so damn clueless about my needs, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." That was a punch to the gut. Her words hit me like a slap. I felt the anger boiling up, but I also felt the sadness creeping in. I'd been blindsided, and now I was furious that she was lying so effortlessly. I wanted to scream, but I kept my voice steady. "You're telling me it's nothing? That you're just out with a friend, sleeping in a hotel? That's bullshit, Lisa." She scoffed. "Oh, please, you're acting like I'm out cheating every night. It's not a big deal. Sex is sex, and honestly, I've been so bored here I needed some excitement. Maybe you should try to keep me interested instead of acting like I'm some kind of saint." I couldn't believe she was spinning this so casually. Her tone was bitchy, defiant, like she was trying to make me feel guilty for catching her. But I felt only one thing: broken. I was trying to stay calm, but inside I was a storm of hurt and rage. I wanted to shake her, to scream that she'd been lying to my face for months, maybe longer. We sat there in silence for a long moment. I looked at her, feeling this strange mix of heartbreak and anger. I knew I couldn't stay in this marriage like this, not with her justifying her betrayal with some bullshit about boredom or needing excitement. I'd been loyal, I'd been faithful, and she'd been screwing around behind my back. How did it come to this? How did I get here, with her lying, sneering, and pretending like it was no big deal? That's when I realized I couldn't do this anymore. Not without a serious talk, not without some answers. But I also knew that this was just the beginning of what was going to be a long, painful process. I'd never felt so stupid and betrayed in my life. All those years I'd trusted her, given her my love, my loyalty, just to find out she'd been sneaking around, having sex with some guy in a hotel while I was at home, clueless. And the worst part, she was still lying, still trying to make me believe it was nothing. I didn't say a word after that. I just got up, went to the bathroom, and stared at myself in the mirror, trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. My mind was racing. I knew I needed to confront her again, to get more answers, but part of me just wanted to walk away and forget everything. Still, I couldn't ignore the fact that I was now living with someone who thought betrayal was just a minor inconvenience. And that realization hit me harder than anything. After that morning, things in the house felt different, charged with a kind of quiet tension that I couldn't shake. Lisa kept going about her day like nothing was wrong, but her attitude had shifted. She was snippy, dismissive, and there was this little smirk whenever she caught me staring at her, like she was enjoying the power she had from knowing I'd found out. I was boiling inside, but I also knew I couldn't just blow up right away. I needed a plan, something calculated. I spent the rest of the day trying to act normal, but I was anything but. I kept thinking about her lies, about the hotel receipts, about how she thought she could just lie her way out of it. I decided to dig deeper. If she was sleeping with some guy, I had to find out exactly how deep this thing went. And I'd do it quietly, no accusations, no shouting. I wanted the truth, raw and unfiltered. That night, I waited until she was drunk on wine, thinking she'd let her guard down. She's always been one to get a little chatty when she's tipsy, and I figured I could catch her slipping up. I kept my phone close, ready to record if I needed to. I knew that if she was cheating, she'd probably talk about it, even indirectly. And sure enough, she did. We were sitting on the couch watching some trashy reality TV show when she suddenly leaned into me and said, "You know, sometimes I wonder if you're really enough for me. I mean, I've been so bored lately. Sex is just blah. You don't satisfy me anymore. I need something more." I felt a cold wave wash over me. That was a confession, plain and simple. She was implying she was getting sex somewhere else, or at least craving it. My stomach twisted, but I kept my face blank. I asked, "And who do you think is giving you this more you're looking for?" She shrugged, smirking again. "Come on, you know I've got needs. Sometimes I just want to feel alive, you know. Maybe I do see Bill again, maybe I don't. It's not your business anyway." I wanted to slap her, to scream, to shake her until she told me everything. But I stayed calm, just watching her, realizing I'd stumbled onto something even worse than I thought. She was openly talking about the sex she was having behind my back, even joking about it like it was no big deal. The fact that she was so dismissive, so bitchy about it, made me feel like I was nothing to her anymore. I kept recording her, knowing I'd need this later. I also knew I couldn't let her see I was onto her. Not yet. I had to be smart. I needed to figure out who else knew, how far this went, and what her next move would be. My mind was racing, but one thing was clear: I was not going to be her fool forever. I'd catch her in her lie one way or another. The next day I started looking into her phone. I had some passwords of my own. She wasn't exactly careful about hiding everything, and I scrolled through her messages. Nothing explicit yet, but I saw her exchanging flirty texts with Bill. They talked about meeting up, hotels, and secrets. It was like reading a script of some sordid affair. The worst part, she was teasing him, sending pictures, acting like they were the only two people in the world. I felt sick. I thought I'd known her, but this was a different level of betrayal. She'd lied for so long, played the victim when I was just trying to be a good husband. I'd been blind, and now I was furious. I kept thinking about how she'll probably deny everything, call me paranoid or jealous, but I knew better. I had the evidence, and I had the look in her eyes. She knew she'd been caught. That night I planned my next move. I decided I'd confront her directly with everything I knew. I wanted to see her squirm, too. Hear her nonsense excuses, and if she kept lying, I'd have the proof I needed to end it all. I wasn't going to be played anymore. I've been loyal for 8 years, and she'd been screwing around for who knows how long. I wasn't going to be the fool in her game. I was mad, hurt, and more than anything, I was tired. Tired of feeling stupid. Tired of feeling like I didn't matter. But I also knew, deep down, that this was the moment I had to take control. Because once you catch someone cheating, there's no going back. And I was done being the one betrayed. The confrontation was inevitable now. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, stuffing my feelings down while she strutted around like she hadn't just broken our vows. That evening, I told her I needed to talk serious. Her usual bitchy attitude immediately kicked in, her eyes narrowing as she snapped, "Oh, great. What now? You're always so paranoid. You really think I'm out sleeping around? You're such a jealous little boy." I looked at her, trying to keep my voice even. "I know about Bill. I know about the hotel receipts. I know you're sleeping with him." Her face twisted into a sneer. "That's ridiculous. You're crazy. You're making things up because you're insecure. Honestly, I don't know what you want from me. I've been dealing with your constant accusations. Maybe I just needed some excitement outside this boring marriage. Sex with you, it's like talking to a wall. I don't feel anything anymore." That was the moment I felt my blood boil. I'd had enough of her lies, her bullshit excuses. I slammed my hand on the table. "You think I don't know how many nights you've been with him? How many times you've been in that hotel? Don't lie to me anymore. I have your texts, I have the receipts. You've been cheating on me, and I want the truth." She rolled her eyes then, her voice dripping with venom. "Fine. Yes, maybe I saw him, maybe I fucked him. Big deal. You act like you're so perfect, but you're not. You're boring, you're predictable. I needed something more, and if that makes me a bad person, so be it. I don't care what you think." Her words cut deep. I felt a mixture of rage, heartbreak, and disgust. How could she be so callous? How could she just admit it like it was nothing? I was frozen in place, unable to speak, my mind racing with everything I'd just heard. I thought about all the nights I'd been loyal, all the times I'd tried to be patient, and how she'd thrown it all away for some guy she barely knew. I wanted to scream, to tear her apart, but I held back. Instead, I told her, "You're done. I'm done." I looked her in the eyes and said, "If you think I'm just going to sit here and take your bullshit, you're wrong. I'm leaving, and I want you out of this house. I want a divorce." Her face contorted with fury. "You can't just walk away. You're not so perfect after all. You think I haven't been miserable too. I don't need you anymore. I'll find my happiness without you." That night I packed a bag and left. Not because I wanted to run, but because I knew I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. I was humiliated, angry, and heartsick all at once. I felt like I'd lost a part of myself, like my trust had been shattered beyond repair. All the years of love, of trying to make things work, they meant nothing to her. She thrown it away for some sex, some thrill, some fleeting moment of excitement. The next few days were a blur. I stayed with a friend, trying to process what had happened. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of what I'd lost. Her smirk, her dismissiveness, her lies, they haunted me. I couldn't help but wonder how she could be so callous, so indifferent to the damage she'd done. I kept replaying her words, her confession, and I realized that what hurt most wasn't just the cheating. It was the complete lack of remorse, the way she had dismissed my feelings like they meant nothing. I began to understand that I had to rebuild myself from the ground up. I couldn't fix her, and I certainly couldn't undo what had been done. But I could choose how to move forward. For now, I knew one thing. I'd learn from this, grow stronger, and never let someone betray me like that again. The trust was gone, and maybe that was for the best. Maybe it was time to start over, to find someone who actually valued loyalty and honesty. But it sure as hell wasn't going to be Lisa. Not anymore. Days turned into weeks, and I felt like I was living in some kind of nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirking, heard her dismissive words, and remembered the way she just casually admitted to cheating. It was like a punch in the gut every single time. I kept telling myself I'd survive this, that I'd come out stronger, but honestly I felt empty, like a part of me had been ripped out and thrown away. I kept replaying the whole thing, trying to figure out where I went wrong, what I could have done differently. But the truth was, there was nothing. I'd been loyal, patient, respectful. I gave her love, attention, everything I thought a marriage needed. And in return, she lied, cheated, and called it boredom or a need for excitement. I don't know if I was naive or just too trusting, but I never imagined I'd be sitting here, betrayed like this. One thing I realized was that I could stay in limbo forever. I needed closure, something to help me move on. So I started talking to a counselor, someone who could help me process the anger, the heartbreak, the betrayal. It wasn't easy. I had to face all the hurt I'd kept bottled up, confront my feelings, and accept that this was real. My wife, had been sleeping with another man while I was at home, trying to be supportive, trying to keep our marriage alive. I also took a hard look at my own boundaries. I'd always believed in forgiveness and giving people chances, but this was different. She didn't just cheat once. She cheated repeatedly, lied repeatedly, and dismissed my feelings like they were nothing. That realization made me realize I couldn't go back. Not to her, not to that marriage. I deserved better than to be treated like an afterthought. Still, a part of me wondered if I could salvage something, if there was any way she'd feel remorse, own up to her mistakes, and try to fix what she broke. But deep down, I knew that was wishful thinking. She'd already shown her true colors: bitchy, manipulative, dismissive. She didn't care about my feelings, only about her own needs. That hurt more than anything. As I started to put some distance between us, I also realized how much I'd taken for granted, how many little moments I'd dismissed, thinking she was just having a bad day or stressed out. Turns out she'd been planning her betrayal for months. I felt stupid, angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, but I also felt angry at her for being so callous, so selfish. Now I'm trying to rebuild my life. I've filed for divorce and I'm working on healing. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't let this define me. I learned that trust can be shattered in a heartbeat, but resilience comes from within. I'm angry, yes, but I'm also determined. I want to be better, stronger, and more careful about who I let into my life next time. I guess what I want to say is, if you're going through something similar, don't ignore the signs. Don't make excuses. Because once someone crosses that line, it's almost impossible to go back. And you deserve so much better than betrayal and lies. I'm still hurting, but I'm getting there. Slowly, painfully, but I will. Now, as I sit here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this experience has changed me. I used to believe in happily ever after, in the idea that honesty and loyalty were the foundation of a marriage. Turns out, not everyone values those things. Lisa didn't just cheat on me. She tore apart what we had built over nearly a decade. It's hard not to feel like a fool, but I know now that I was the one who stayed loyal, who gave her everything. That counts for something, even if she doesn't see it. I've come to understand that sometimes people betray you because they're too selfish, too caught up in their own needs and desires to care about what they've destroyed. And that's a reflection of who they are, not who you are. I didn't do anything wrong except trusting her too much. But now I see that trust isn't something to take for granted. It's precious, fragile, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. Moving forward, I've decided to focus on myself. I've started therapy, rebuilding my confidence, and reconnecting with old friends I'd neglected. I'm not rushing into anything new, but I am opening up to the idea that I deserve respect and honesty, and I refuse to settle for less again. I want someone who appreciates what I bring to a relationship, not someone who takes it all for granted and betrays me behind my back. This whole ordeal has taught me a lot about boundaries, about listening to my gut, and about valuing myself more. I've learned that it's okay to be angry, to feel broken, but also that healing is possible. that even after the deepest betrayal, life goes on. Maybe not the life I expected, but a better one rooted in self-respect and clarity. If I could give any advice to others in this situation, it would be this. Trust is everything, but don't be naive. Pay attention to the signs. When someone lies repeatedly, dismisses your feelings, or shows a lack of remorse, listen to that voice inside. Because once you realize you're being betrayed, there's no turning back. Protect yourself, be honest with yourself, and never forget that you are worth respect and honesty. No matter how much you loved someone, their betrayal doesn't define your worth. And finally, I want to say that healing isn't linear. Some days will be worse than others, and that's okay. What matters is that I'm moving forward stronger than I was before. I'll carry this pain with me, but I won't let it consume me. I'll rebuild, I'll heal, and I'll find happiness again. Because even after the worst betrayals, life still goes on. And I owe it to myself to make sure it's better than what I had.